Say hi, son. Yeah, he's a big boy. Dude, that's part of my hair. I was fixing for that boy. He's sassy. I think these are brood mares. They just run free out here. This is the camp on the last morning. This is Simon. Don't come in here. This is the amazing Holly. Hey, Holly. Who sees the horses? And Deborah making breakfast. Monica talking to me. Baking at the campfire. This is mid. They're curious, aren't they? That's right, everybody loves bacon. What you doing? Cranking. What's cranking?
That was great. Good job, Chris.
Hopefully we're back,
can't
right?
Talk.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
You're back.
But the video is, I got to get muted for the whole thing for the sound to work. So everybody else was cheering that I couldn't talk. So well, hey, welcome guys. Welcome to Pinnacle Entertainment. Talk about Wild West fun stuff. especially the Blood Drive Kickstarter, and some fun that Shane and Simon Lucas went on their big cattle drive. So I'll leave it to Chelsea to ask the questions, because she's got some good insight on the guys about how Deadlands came to be, and just kind of like Wild West fun stuff. So take it away, Chelsea.
Yeah, we'll keep it pretty casual, and if you guys have questions, you can leave them in the comments as well. So we'll start at the beginning. What did we just watch? What was all that?
So I guess Chris took some of the video that Simon and I took on the cattle drive we took in. What year was that, Simon?
Oh gosh, that was 3 years ago now? 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And how long was that cattle drive?
So
a lifetime.
it was 7 days altogether. It was about 9 days on the trip for us. We went to Roswell, New Mexico. The ranch was near Roswell. And I think it was about 5 days on in the actual scrub in New Mexico, 2 days at the ranch. So it was a good long time.
It was a long time.
Did you guys do any like preparation, any like training before this, any
yeah,
extra
I've been
horse
on a
riding?
one time in my entire life. Like when I was 18 or something, I've always avoided horses, so this seemed like a good idea.
I'd ridden a reasonable amount, nothing where I was out on my own, right? Just, well, since I was little. When I was little, my cousins had horses. And when I was in my teens, one of my friends had this big black stallion we used to run, and it's a miracle we didn't die on it. But because we would just run that thing all over his farm. But nothing really since then other than like guided horse rides, which are, very safe and very slow.
How did you pick which horses you were going to ride? Did the ranchers kind of guide you to the best ones for you?
Yeah, they gave me the slowest, fattest horse there was, and it was fantastic. It was exactly what I needed, right? He would stop and eat constantly, and they called him Chuck. So, yeah, he would just constantly bring up the rear and eating. So it was kind of my pace.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, the video at the beginning was you trying to get him to run, right? Like that was like try to all out run, and he was just not.
Actually,
like,
that was a different horse. Chuck would not have run at all. So on the last day on the way back, they gave me another horse, and I think by that point they wanted me to try going a bit faster. So,
do you remember that horse's name, Simon?
I don't. I'm terrible.
It was like Shadow or something, but
it was a cool name. But,
yeah,
yeah. It was definitely a horse made for a little bit more speed.
Right. So my first day, they gave me, it was a good horse, but something was wrong with the way he was loping. He might have had some back leg trouble or something. And the saddle kept sliding off. So I would slide off with it. So I was constantly, trying to adjust it. It was a pretty rough first day. And then they gave me Stanley, and I loved Stanley. And that's the, I don't know my horses too well, but it's the yellowish looking, I think it's a Palomino, but it's a draft horse. He used to pull logs evidently until he was rescued by these folks and taken to the ranch. But Stanley, as the ranch son's owner called him, was a bit more go-ier than my other horse. He loved to run.
Yeah, he did. He was taking off constantly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What were your jobs on the trail? Did you have specific duties that you had to carry as you rode along?
Honestly, the dogs did all the work.
Yeah.
I mean, we were along for the ride. The dogs could have just taken that herd and gone by themselves. They were amazing.
They were amazing.
Oh.
But yeah, so I mean, my job was always bring up the rear. So Chuck only had one speed.
Yeah, if you I learned this from Blood Drive, actually, the adventure that we have on Kickstarter right now for Deadlands. John Goff originally looked all this up back in 2012 when he wrote it. But there are different positions around the herd. Right now, our herd was about 50 to 70 cattle, I think. In Blood Drive, you manage 1,000 up to 2,000 cattle, so it's a much bigger operation, right? But there are different positions around the herd. So there's lead, there's swing, there's drag. We were usually on drag, which is the rear, which is where the rookies go, right? Because you're getting all the cow flatulence, the dust, and everything else. But by a couple of days in, we would lead, and then sometimes it'd get really interesting because this massive amount of land in New Mexico, and there was occasionally they have wildlife out there, wild mares and bulls. And occasionally a bull would come into a fence, an area of the fencing they didn't think it was in, and we'd have to ride ahead and kind of chase it off. And that was pretty dramatic and actually pretty fun because you really got to open your horse up then and run.
Gotcha.
Yeah, about the most work that I did on the horse, I should think, was like just rounding strays back into the herd again. And again, the dogs were coming with me, so it was just riding. But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Hollywood makes it look easy, right? Like when you see a competent rider on a horse, it looks like it's all just okay. But like you're splayed, you're lighter than they probably have ever been before. Like you have a very limited amount of control, and it's scary. They go fast, and the communication is very you have to. It's a long time to learn. So I'm surprised. Like how many times have you been on a horse before you went on this trail ride, Simon?
Once.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Which is still insane to me because I've ridden horses all my life and been terrified of them as well. I've probably been thrown off a horse every single time I ride just because I'm nervous and they're like, go on.
Well, I'm glad I didn't talk to you before I went. but yeah, no, it was certainly painful. I hadn't quite expected it to be as sore as it was.
Simon was a great rider, but it certainly the first couple of days, right? So the first day, you're just starting out and you're like, okay, this isn't so bad because they're going slow with you, right? Mm-hmm. And then they start trotting, right? And trotting is just the worst thing in the world. It's awful, and we never did get the hang of it. Once you get into a lope, it's very comfortable. But that first day, by the end of it, we were in a lot of pain. Our feet were hurting from our boots, our butts were hurting, our legs were hurting. What was it? One of your knees, Simon, was just
I think because Chuck was great for my pace, but he was so round that in order to actually kick him at all, my knees were kind of bending back on themselves. So my right knee was just swelled up, and it was like
right.
Just to sit on him hurt by about the third day. It was yeah.
So then you go back to the bunkhouse, and I have some pictures of the bunkhouse and all that. I'm happy to show too. And you're just kind of lying in bed, and everything hurts so bad. That's really all you can think about. And then the second day, you get up and you ride for another 8 or 9 hours, and you're like, "Oh my God, what have I done? This was the worst decision I've ever made."
Yeah.
And then that day ends, and you crawl back into bed. And this is while you're still at the bunkhouse the second day. And then the third day comes, and we were fine pretty much the rest of the trip. There were things that hurt, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that the saddle soreness went away about day 3. My knee was still kind of swollen. Once we switched horses, that cleared up too. So it was definitely how wide the guy was.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, the pain subsided dramatically, and you could enjoy it a lot more.
Well, and people think it's like leisurely, but if you don't want to have your spine killed, you're basically half standing most of the time. Like you have to canter, and you're pushing against the horse.
Any of that.
It's a workout, though. It looks very peaceful. It's like, oh, look at those nice, oh no, and you're very high up. It's awkward when you're, you look at somebody like, oh, look, there's a horse, there's someone. But yeah, I'm not really that scared of heights, but with horse, like the whole idea of getting bucked off and falling, something becomes it's like the ground just looks smaller, like down there, and the even just getting on and off, it's kind of very.
It's not that bad though, falling off a horse, honestly. And now that I have context,
Don't want to
it's not that bad. It's not that much higher than you stand normally. Your hips are almost at the same height. They're just maybe a little bit higher.
So you're just very small horses.
Yeah.
I rode quarter horses, so tiny babies.
No, what I was going to say, I'm not scared of heights either, and I found it fine to be up there until they decided to kind of just go off the side of a cliff and walk down it, and then you're kind of staring down at rocks. But those horses were so sure-footed; they could just pick their way down anything. They were amazing.
When you said
we had one guy fall off his horse.
Only one.
He was and to the whole trip, and he was actually a mounted policeman from New York.
Oh.
The only guy that was actually a professional rider.
Oh my gosh! It happens.
Yeah, well,
it's not just me.
That was when the herd stampeded, though. That was exciting.
Wait, what happened there?
Exciting events.
I'm maybe over dramatizing it a bit. Like they ran away. It wasn't
No,
a case.
Simon,
You had 50
Thank
cows
you.
running at the same
Ridiculous.
speed away from you, though.
Yeah, they were away from me. He tried to put himself in the way, and I think that might have been a mistake.
He did. But I'm going to tell you a story about getting in the way in a little bit too. Hey, can I give a quick overview of the whole trip? I've got some
Yes,
photos I can share.
definitely.
Okay, so let me share screen.
Somebody just said, I'm trying to pay attention to the story, but all I can see is the box sets behind Simon.
We'll get there, people. We'll get there.
To distract people from anything that I'm saying.
So that's what Simon dressed like the whole time.
Yeah, look at these box sets.
So, like I said, we went to New Mexico. We stopped at Hatch, New Mexico, had some incredible food. I don't necessarily recommend the red chili lemonade.
Why?
That's what I look like drinking it. I embarrassed Simon, so now I got to embarrass myself, right?
It is advertised as Aussie's favorite, though, isn't it?
Yeah. And I did drink the whole thing. But it was a really cool store there. I think it's called Sparky's, a restaurant. So if you ever get to go and stop there, it was delicious. Let's see. Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's kind of neat. I think it's kind of famous around here. So then we stopped and got some actual, really good New Mexican food, which is always fantastic. I'm going to go pretty fast. I don't want to bore people with my home movies. I went to the Roswell Museum, of course. Had to do that, right? So
Yay!
there's me and Gort. We brought a Nick Toe. And then we got to, so there was this cool restaurant there that oddly enough had all this sci-fi memorabilia. Not so oddly, actually. So Flash Gordon, Flight to Mars, that kind of stuff. Then we got to the lodge, to the ranch, which is an hour off the highway. I mean, you just got to drive gravel roads for an hour. This is the common room of the lodge you stay in. So there's books. There's always warm chocolate chip cookies on this table.
Can you make that large screen? Just the whole tab.
I don't know if I can in Google Photos. I think that's all I can do.
Okay.
Yeah. So the lodge, these are the bunks that we stayed in while we were at the lodge. So, you're in there with whoever happens to be on the trip, right?
There does not look to be a lot of space in between those.
It's not.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm going to share my other screen because that's my vertical screen for reading PDFs. Maybe that'll work.
Maybe.
And now I've lost everything.
Oh, no.
Here we go. Is that better?
Yes.
That's much better.
Okay, great. Okay, so again, that's the bunks. We were there in November, so about this time of year. It was beautiful. And then, hang on one second. This is the communal dinner that they make for us. And these are people from Germany, from New York, from all over the place. This guy's a former Army Ranger. This the owners, Kim and Patricia, and they were just great. This is a judge, so just all kinds of different people. The food was amazing, and then they come, and this is where they're picking a good horse for us. So they kind of ask you, what's your riding level, how well, how big are you, how heavy are you, that kind of stuff. And let's see, I'll try to make this quick. There's some big bugs out there in New Mexico.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not going to play any of the movies. This was a tarantula. I was just leaning on my horse, waiting on the rest of the gang to come along, and looked down, and there was a big old tarantula down there.
Nope.
Look at that sucker.
Nope.
I'd never seen a tarantula in the wild before, so that was really cool.
So you said you stayed in the bunkhouse for 2 nights of the drive, is that right?
I think it's actually 3 nights because you get there like late one night.
Mm-hmm.
That's me and Stanley. That's my buddy. And then you spend 2 more nights, and then the next day you head out onto the actual range itself. This is what you're looking at 90% of the time, cow butts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Shiny cow butts.
And the cows are loud. They are surprisingly talkative animals.
Yeah. So that's the gist of what we did.
But the camp that was in the video, that was where we stayed most of the time. There was tents and bedrolls, and that was all there was. But,
yeah. And I'll tell you what, these bedrolls, I think in Deadlands a lot, we think a bedroll is something you hang on your the bottom of your satchel or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they did, but the ones we had probably weighed what, Simon?
No idea. They were a couple of small children's worth.
Oh no, they were over.
How I measured things, they were weighty. But yeah,
Yeah.
they were layers and thick, I don't know, canvas, I guess, on the outside. They were so warm.
It was. They were wonderful to crawl in at night after you were just exhausted. There were rattlesnakes. We ran into 5 or 6 rattlesnakes during the trip.
Yeah, they met a bad end.
Did they just axe them right away to
Yeah.
make sure?
They did, and I hate killing things, but I guess they bite the cows. And in fact, here's a sad story. So we can get this out of the way right now. That horse that I liked so much, Stanley, he and 3 others wound up dying last year. Evidently, they went to eat on a bush, and there were young rattlesnakes layered underneath it, and they bit them. And they bit them on the face as they were trying to get in and eat. And all but one died. Stanley didn't make it. So.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. Ranching life is hard,
That's why we never name the horses in Deadlands.
Well, we do in Blood Drive, actually. You can name them, and they get a special perk.
Someone asked, which towns were you in for this?
Well, we were in Roswell, and then their ranch. This is the Burnt Well guest ranch, which I happen to be wearing, strangely enough. I didn't even plan that. Is out in the middle of the desert from there. So, you book online, you go to Roswell, stay there, and then you drive out to the ranch when you're ready to go.
Gotcha. Well, with that many cows, you had one stampede, right? One rush of adrenaline. How long did that go on for? Like,
I need a break for it.
People think about a stampede, and I think about like Lion King.
That's what it was like.
Is that exactly what it was like?
Simon and I we're hard men.
They're no match for us.
Okay, I'm going to tell this story now. So this is my one real cowboy moment. This is no exaggeration, no BS. This really happened, and I did something cool. I rolled a raise, okay? And I'll be the first to admit this is not normally me, but right then, I did this. So we're moving the herd, and there's this long hill that the herd is moving past. We just watered them. And they have a fairly big herd of wild horses running all over the place. And they're brood mares, right? They give birth to new horses for them to sell and to train. So I'm riding up the hill, and I just happened to be in the lead at that time. And over the hill, actually, there's kind of a famous painting that shows this. But these horses, these wild mares come running over the hill right at our herd. And the herd starts to panic. And I see Kim and Ty, who are the owners of the ranch, come running after them like, oh, crap, right? So I go running in front of them, me and Stanley. And I pulled my horse in front of those horses between them and the herd. And I didn't rear up or anything, but, man, it felt like it. It was like, I pull up like that, and they go diverting around. And, I spun the horse around. And, again, big raise on the riding roll. And Ty and Kim, they come running up behind me after that, and they said, good job. That was maybe my proudest moment, right? 2 real cowboys gave me that look, just that one little move. But that image of those horses coming over that hill, it's seared in my mind. I'll remember it till the day I die.
Yeah, I saw it from the back of the herd.
From the very back.
That's just where you happen to be at the moment. Yeah, it was cool.
Any given moment.
So are you like taking turns and shifts overnight? Because obviously you're moving constantly. Somebody's got to watch the herd. So do they have people kind of stay up later and take shifts and that kind of thing once you make camp, or what's that like?
So they kind of corralled them all, and then we all went to sleep. So I mean, yeah. One night, actually, it was in that video. Those probably the same wild horses came by the camp. And so you could hear all the cows got disturbed in the night, and you could hear the herd, and the dogs would start barking and stuff. But yeah, so the horses would come by a bit curious sometimes.
Gosh.
So on the stream, Yuri's on wants to know, what was your cowboy moment during the trip, Simon?
It was like the very first day when I got on the horse. That was pretty good. But that first day was like it seemed like forever, but they said it's a short ride. And so I think we went out for like 4 hours collecting all of the cows. and then kind of herded them back to the ranch. And we got back there, and I was pretty pleased with myself. I hadn't fallen off, and the pain hadn't really kicked in yet. So I was like, "This is easy." And then I was at the front, and so he was like, "Right, get in and separate out these cows that I guess aren't ours." And so I had to ride into the fence with all these cows and start trying to maneuver a horse that I didn't know how to ride to separate out certain cows. But we got him, and so that was the highlight, really. I managed to do something useful on day one.
How did you know which cows weren't theirs? Did they have different tags? Oh, okay.
He was just pointing out.
It's just like, that's not mine.
Yeah, they were all cows to me.
He did, though. He's downplaying a little bit because this was the first day, or the first day we were actually doing anything, and they were herding him into these, the metal cow rails into different pens, right? And a lot of those cows didn't want to go. And you got to ride in there with them, and the horse and the cow are kind of jostling each other around. It's real narrow. Yeah, and he dove right in, so he did great. I mean, he didn't stop a stampede of mares.
It's little things, baby steps. Next time,
absolutely.
he'll stop a herd of mares. Next time.
I'll take it.
It was good.
The classic rear up in the sunset. Take your hat off and put it back on.
I just fall off if that happens.
Oh my gosh. What kind of grub did you have on the trail? Anything in particular that you remember that was really good? Yeah.
Everything was just fantastic.
Yeah.
Everything tastes better when you've worked for a whole day, right?
It is true.
Part of it was that, but part of it was just everything was fantastic. I mean, they provide such great meals. I put on a ton of weight, I'm sure.
Yeah, Patricia is the wife of the husband and wife that own the ranch, and she's just an amazing cook. And it's all New Mexican food, which I think is just fantastic. Anyway, Simon doesn't really like spicy food, and I wouldn't say it was particularly spicy, but he loved this too. It was just really good. And she would usually get up and make breakfast, and then she'd make dinner. For lunch, you usually got like a tortilla with whatever was left over from breakfast or dinner wrapped up inside that you'd take with you on the drive. And even that was delicious.
And what was she carrying all like the food and pots and pans in? Was she like in a truck? Because I imagine her in a wagon, but that's probably not realistic.
It's a modern-day truck wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was all just set up back at the camp, but it was good.
So how was the ice cream? Clint asks.
That was a lot of effort for not very much ice cream.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was good. Made it yourself, so it tastes better.
That's right.
Yeah, Jody asked about fresh steak, but you guys, there wasn't any slaughter when you guys were there. It was just a drive, right?
No,
I think you're going to regale us. Sorry, Simon, go ahead. So
that sounds more like your drive, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had fresh. I mean, if we want to segue into that. So I'm a big Border Collie guy. So Border Collies have been in my family for generations, and so I own 4 of them. I've bred my female, and the dog world is weird, right? Like the dog world is like the horse world is really weird. But if you have less money, you can be in the dog world. And but so I've got Border Collies, and you saw in the video the one dog that kind of shoot away the wild horses was a Border Collie. My corgis are kind of cross cattle dog mixes that were short on your drive. But the Border Collie is traditional Scottish breed. They're big on herding sheep, but here in the West, in America, they've kind of diverted a bunch of the lines to be cattle dogs as well. And there's different sensibilities, like with cattle, they'll kick, and so you kind of need a harder dog that'll get kicked. And Border Collies are kind of not that dog. They're very smart. They're very trainable, but they're so like the smaller dogs are tailing or nipping breeds that go for the heels. Border Collies kind of use their eyes. They call it the Border Collie stare, the look. Anyways, so bred a litter of puppies, kept 2, and one of the puppies I sold up to a ranch in Wyoming, and to a lovely lady who's a good friend named Kara Taylor. So in 2011, I decided, she invited me up to go to a branding. This is the Taylor Ranch. It's a century ranch in Wyoming, just kind of south of Daniel. Like the the tourists call it Jackson Hole, but everyone in Wyoming calls it Jackson. So just kind of south of that. And
it is gorgeous up there.
Oh, it's amazing.
Actually stunning. It looks very similar to Colorado, like if you go up.
Yeah, right. And like Colorado's a gorgeous state. But the if you go for big sky country, I mean, amazing on that. And let me zoom down a bit. So here's me at the ranch on one of the hills. So this is kind of looking down back over the ranch. The little tiny thing up here in red is their ranch house. And so you can see they've got like water on the property too. And this is kind of a weird thing for Colorado. We have no water here. Certainly nothing that's not a very deep river kind of gorge. But up in this plateau, they just got water that kind of goes across the property. So we go up there for the branding. And this is Dublin. He's the father. And that's his little son, Mercury. And so we decided to go up for the branding. And let's see where should we start? When you do a branding, so the kind of part of the cattle drive ethic, right, is that you've got different places during the year that the cattle feed. And there's sometimes it's on public government land, sometimes on private land, kind of depending on where it snows, what's available. So you kind of have to keep moving. You don't overgraze an area. And a lot of on the public lands, cattle will mix. So like you hear about Simon and Shane, they had to separate the cows. You have to separate your stock from other people's stock. So that's kind of why you need to brand them, is because you have to identify which cows are yours and which ones aren't. And when they're young, so this is a spring branding. And here's the branding iron. They've got a propane filled oven, and then these are the different brands that are warming up. And so everybody who's going to cut a stake in this herd kind of puts their brand in, and kind of the whole town. It's kind of like a barn raise, and the whole town shows up for these. They got to separate out the boys from the girls, and the boys get castrated. And so the day before the boys get their injection of antibiotics, because they're going to get their little surgery done. And so they've got people on horseback, cows, and the little calves. And then it's kind of a two-person job to like football tackle them. So one person grabs the front hoof, and the other person grabs the back hoof, and you literally lift them up off the ground and kind of plant them onto the ground. And we'll get back to that in a sec. So once they're on the ground, you've got the person in front pulls up their hoof, kind of like in a half Nelson, and then the person in the back has very delicate form. You've got to put one foot in the crook of their back leg on the ground, and then your free foot, you put your the sole of your foot right over the poop chute. And the reason you do that is that when they get branded, and because they've had the antibiotics, there's like nothing solid inside, and it startles them a little bit. And if you don't, you'll get sprayed.
I brought this up.
Right. So that's. Here's a cow actually getting branded. So you can kind of see they got the front hoof up in the half Nelson. There's the brander guy. You can kind of see none of the cows that we were there ever seem to be in much pain from this. It's kind of surprising given it's a hot brand. But the worst part is kind of the smell of the hair going from the hair to get down to the skin. And the burning hair is just something else. Here's one of the guys who's doing the roping. So here's and they keep them roped while you're getting them. And so they're under management. Let's see the good shots. So Jody asked about a little fresh meat. So the tradition for all the city slicker idiots like me. So here's some of the irons once they get hot. You can kind of see that the different brands for the different people who are going to brand their own cows. That's Kara. That's she basically. So this is Kara. She's amazing. She's the one who bought the dog. She ranch. It's century-old Wyoming Century Ranch, and she's was the past president of the Wyoming Cattle Association. You can see that like more than half of the people out there on the roundup and the thing are women riders. So Wyoming being the first state to give women the vote certainly hasn't stopped. So this is the only tool they use for the castration. She calls it the emasculator. Literally a very sharp pocket knife to make the first incision, and these are the clamps you use. This one is kind of clips off the vas deferens and pinches it. close, and the other one is to kind of just open up the little the sack. And then let's see. Oh, here's Lisanne. She's one of the younger riders. She's amazing, doing the roping. Here's one of the dogs we sold them. Anyway, so here's what a castration looks like. So they literally just
Keep it light,
slice
Chris.
them up a little bit.
Yeah,
Right?
let's press on there.
Okay. Well, so the when they're done with that, the city slickers, and like no one in Wyoming does this because they're awful. If you've ever had Rocky Mountain oysters, they're not great. They taste like anise seeds. And
What are Rocky Mountain oysters, Chris? For those who don't know.
Though you don't waste anything on the ranch, so they take those and they deep fry them, or if you on the cattle drive, they'll just throw them on the top of the branding iron, and you got a little extra testicular fortitude. And the next year we went back up. I'll just show you the box of them. This is one of the guys with the box of balls, and that's what you get after branding a lot of the boys. But it's amazing. It's a lot of fun. There's just nothing quite like Wyoming and the West, where you get kind of this, nature and horses and all the good stuff coming together.
Well, I got to say, I think
dogs,
our cattle drive a lot more.
Right, the horses are much prettier when they're grazing than when you're on top of them. Shane mentioned that, like when you start on these things, they kind of tell you about you have to find a horse big enough for you. Like a small horse can't take a big guy like me. And actually, when we were on the Savage Cruise in Jamaica, they had a little ride horseback through the water and out. And Shane and Michelle ride. And Shane invited me to come, and I looked up the thing, and it's like you had to be under 200 pounds to get on the horse. And I was like, yeah, that ain't happening. So Shane's response was, "Hey, buddy, eat a salad." So all the love and respect I deserve, but. Anyways, the dogs are pretty amazing. So these are I'm just going to do the proud dog dad stuff. The Kara's told me about, like, the cows are very vicious. Like when you have a bit, they will if you get between a mother cow and her calf, and they feel threatened, they'll use their head to push you into the ground and leave you there until you suffocate. I mean, they'll push you in the ground until you suffocate. And one of the times the dog actually saved Kara's life. Same thing, where one of the bulls decided to get testy and knocked her over and was about to stamp on her, and the dog came and saved her. Let me see. I just want to do one.
Do they castrate them for population control so they know?
Yeah. So if you only need one bull to service a whole herd. And if you let the boys reach maturity, the meat becomes very, very gamey. So if you want to keep the boy calves in the population to be sold off for meat, then they gotta lose their boy parts before they hit puberty. And the one little more story is kind of interesting. Is these a lot of people look at kind of like the ranching lifestyle, and we've become so inured away from that the I don't know, you kind of don't know where your food comes from. And I mean, the amount of love that people give to these animals, it really is kind of it seems bizarre, right? You're raising them for food, but the amount of care and love that they give them is really kind of astonishing. And this is a picture of me. So this was a heifer, in which it's a female cow who is not already given birth. So this is like her first time. And the first time they try to give birth, is very dangerous, because a lot of times the calf can be too large. So this was actually a heifer who had a too large calf inside of her, and so they had to get it out the hard way. And so this is, let me find the secondary follow-up.
They use like the clamping technique where they're trying to they gotta pull them out.
Here the calf is literally half born, and they had to use a trailer rope to kind of keep pulling. So this is Kara and a friend. And here they're just worried about, can you save the mother? Can you save the calf's probably already gone because it's too big. But this is them. Just you can see the worry on their faces and how much they love these animals. And the good part of the story is that that calf was gone, but the next year that heifer, when she was no longer a heifer, successfully gave birth on her own to twins, I think. So
Wow.
Everything worked out well in the end. But yeah, no, I mean, it is just kind of amazing when you're a city slicker. And that's why I don't wear a cowboy hat. I wanted no one to think that I had any idea what I was doing, because that's just would be dangerous to assume. But yeah, that was my big adventure. So that we would go up there every couple of years for the brandings. And yeah, we kind of, so speaking of that, this fall, so we had to cancel in 2020, but in 2021, we're going back to Deadwood in the fall, and we're teaming up with the Doomtown folks, and we have a hotel right in the middle of Deadwood, downtown, close to everything. And we're planning on if you guys want to come join us for an expedition, the website is Savage Expedition. Let's see, let me make sure. It was savagecruise.com, but we've grown beyond the cruise. Savage Expedition, no S, .com. And there's a link. It's got pictures of the cruise we went on, but there's also a link to join our email list. So if you guys want to keep in the loop about joining us for Doomtown and Savage Worlds, and then a bunch of adventures. So the idea is that, we love playing games with you guys, but it's so much more fun to, swim with stingrays too, and, see dead bodies in the street, and, go to Marty and, have cattle drives. So the up for Deadwood, we are planning on getting you guys on some horses if you want to go out and responsibly shoot some guns, all the fun stuff. Like if you want to do the West, there's a famous gold mine in town. We're going to definitely go and do the gold mine tour. Some historic museums in town. We'll definitely for the less adventures inclined. There's some paintball that's right outside if you guys want to do some paintball duels. Whatever you're comfortable with, we have excursions from that. So if you want to play the whole time you're up there, that'll be great. But if you guys want to get out and do some trail rides or go on ATVs on some dirt roads, see some wildlife, it's a great part of the country. And we're going to plan some drive-ups from the Denver area. So if you guys want to go and see cool stuff like, speaking of Deadlands, Devil's Peak, Devil's Monument, Devil's Tower is the word, famous Deadlands location. And you can actually see where the dead copy for having a certain cryptid that's infested the area. You can see where that comes from. It's based on some pretty good research. So in and out and around the West, we're going to go up there and do that this fall. So if you want to join us on that bit of fun, savageexpedition.com, join the mailing list, and you can have pictures of you doing fun stuff on cows and horses, and making fun of Simon for his lack of spicy flavor palette. So.
That was supposed to be my first Savage Worlds event, actually, was Deadwood. It was supposed to be this year, and unfortunately it just didn't happen. But I think we'll be live streaming. We'll definitely be recording some stuff and popping that out. So even if you can't go and you just want to kind of see what the experience is about, we'll definitely get that up and running for next year when we can. Question for Shane and Simon. So did you find this cattle drive online? Did somebody invite you? How did you get involved?
Shane invited me.
Yeah, so I've lost my screen here. Sorry if I look confused. I just looked it up online, and I read every review I could find. And people who did this one seemed like they really enjoyed it. So that's what I did.
Nice.
There was actually a drawback to some degree of Burnt Well. So Burnt Well is great. I highly recommend it. The one thing that was a little tough was it's you can't run the horses everywhere there, because they have something there called tabasso grass, and you can see it if you look through in some of the video that Chris showed in the beginning. But my understanding is, and remember, I'm no expert, but my understanding is it cavitates underneath the grass, right? So you've got this grass, it looks like solid grounds, but there's holes underneath it. So if you're running your horse through these fields of tabasso grass, it can be very dangerous, and the horse can stick its foot in the hole, and of course it breaks its leg, and they don't usually recover from that. So
they don't.
It can be pretty dangerous.
Yeah. So you were very limited to the trails that you could be on in that sense.
Well,
you're not across the terrain anyway, but you just couldn't really spur the horse on too much. It was kind of even just at a walk, they would stumble occasionally. Right, the ground would just kind of give way underneath them. But
right,
so we weren't running.
Well, generally we weren't running, but in many places, you know, as soon as we found a place that didn't have that kind of grass that was more solid, we ran just as fast as we could. It was great.
So I got one big question for you guys. So Shane, how did you come up with Deadlands? I mean, what was the original, like, you're the guy who's put the stamp on Wild West RPGs, and how did that come about? Like, what's the origin?
Okay, I'll tell it briefly since I've told it a bazillion times, and I know plenty of people are probably bored with it. But there was I've completely lost my screen, guys. So if I look around strangely, that's what's going on. There was a cover that Brom did for Vampire, the old Vampire the Masquerade game, and it wound up being the cover for Necropolis Atlanta, if you want to look it up. But I saw it as the cover of a White Wolf magazine. There used to be these things called magazines back in the great old days. And they were giving them away at Gen Con, and I got one. And on the 16-hour drive back from Gen Con, because we used to drive to it from Virginia, I couldn't get this image out of my head. The image is of an undead Confederate. I thought he was undead. He's a vampire. I mean, he is undead. He's a vampire. I thought he was like a zombie or something. But he's got crossed pistols like this and this torn flag behind him. And I couldn't get that image out of my head. And I thought, well, what has compelled this guy to come back from the dead? What is so important to him that he must come back from the dead for? And, you know, throughout this long drive, while everybody else is sleeping in the van or the truck or whatever we had, you know, I just started coming up with a story. I could see this hand coming up out of the grave. I could see the badge with the bullet hole in it. And I slowly started to kind of form a story about the Four Horsemen. And they weren't the Reckoners at that time. John Hopler actually came up with that term. He came up with the tagline, "There will come a reckoning," and at that point they had to become the Reckoners, right? So that started to congeal. I ran a couple of games in my basement in Virginia for my friends with this crazy system that is now Deadlands Classic. They loved it. We kept playing it, and then I said, well, I'm going to publish it. And everybody said, don't publish it. Westerns don't sell. You're not going to go anywhere with it. And I said, okay, well, I don't care. I'm just going to do it anyway. So we thought we'd print 1,000 copies. That was the original first 1,000 hardbacks. And we'd be done with it. So that's when I actually planned Hell on Earth, because I thought, you know, well, we're going to blow it up anyway. So let's do the sequel where the bad guys win. That would be cool, right? And then it became this huge hit, and we're like, oh crap, we can't end this. So you know, that's when we started figuring out what would become the big cool Deadlands timeline. I think it's cool. And that is the short version of a very long story. You know, obviously there were a lot of people that contributed along the way. Greg Gordon and Matt Forbeck were part of it. Simon came along later on and kind of bumped us up a level in presentation, graphic design, and production. So I've been very lucky to have a lot of very smart people join me on the ride.
Yeah, Clint mentions in the chat, Clint says, my first published piece was in an issue of White Wolf magazine, and he later discovered you, Shane, reviewed GURPS Espionage in that same issue. So
yeah, I used to do the GURPS reviews in White Wolf magazine. The only one I actually really remember doing is Bunnies and Burrows, because I got that and I thought, oh, I'm not going to like this. And I loved it. It was fantastic.
Somebody had asked earlier if anybody was armed during your cattle drive. Was there any like sense of danger? Was there any worry about like wolves or coyotes or anything like that? Probably not, right?
No coyotes. I don't think we saw any wolves though. There was a fair amount of wildlife around, but I don't remember anybody being armed.
I think Ty had a pistol. So one guy did, but when they killed the rattlesnakes, it was usually done with a lariat.
You guys, did you have to?
Yeah,
I know you have your like little pods and things. My dad grew up in Arizona and always talked about stuffing his shoes at night so that there wouldn't be any like scorpions or things like that. And I know in New Mexico, sometimes that can happen as well. Any surprises in shoes, or were we stuffing shoes at night to make sure?
We were in tents that kind of looked like teepees, and they were pretty secure. But I mean, all those critters were out there.
I
mean, you saw that huge tarantula.
That's right.
We did some trail rides in Wyoming, and the Kara packed a 50 caliber revolver, and I asked her about like, wow, that's a whole lot of firepower. And we asked about it, and I was thinking, oh, mountain lions, or mountain lions a small thing. Wolves were kind of a small thing. The biggest thing in Wyoming was moose. If tick off a moose, they will end you apparently. And since it was spring, the mother moose and the calf moose, you don't want to get between them. And so the real thing was, during the day, a mountain lion, not really, wolf, not really, but yeah, you get between them. And we actually ended up seeing a mother and a baby moose, and we took a wide berth. It was
I've been told they're as dangerous as tigers.
Yeah,
they'll wreck cars and walk away. My boyfriend's dad has hit a moose in the middle of Wyoming, and
my sister bit a moose once.
Yeah,
they hit a moose, totaled the car. Moose walked away just fine, no problem, just left, and that was like a big old Jeep.
You don't realize how big they are. Like elk and moose are giant. Their kneecaps are at your nose level. Like you wouldn't think you look up at them and it's like, oh no, I had no idea they were this huge of an animal.
Well, you're in their world, so they don't care a lick about you. They know they can destroy you as well. So it's terrifying in that sense too, because you are no longer the alpha predator out there. They will come for you.
So Simon, was Deadlands the first Pinnacle Savage Worlds product that you worked on with Shane?
No. I remember getting like a very early draft of Savage Worlds that was just like printed at home and read it. But that was before the first edition came out. So that was the first thing I saw, was the first draft of that. The first thing I worked on was Rippers, the original draft of Rippers, which Chris Dolan had done a draft of, and then I added some stuff to that and finished the plot point campaign and rounded that out and got that published. So Rippers was my first Savage Worlds product.
Nice.
And then Solomon Kane is really where Simon jumped us up a level. Him and Robin Elliott primarily doing the graphic design, and then it really kind of showed me, I need to step up my game. And that's when things started getting better and better, and now.
Yeah, it was. We did Pirates of the Spanish Main and Solomon Kane, and put a lot of love into making that sort of premium, classy, full color product, and then took a lot of that into Deadlands Reloaded, and so the Deadlands Reloaded was the first Deadlands stuff that I worked on.
So speaking of premium, classy, full-color products and getting a little hands-on experience, chat really wants to know what's in the box.
What's in the box?
So,
what's in the box?
What's in the box?
Right, speaking of weird, bloody things in boxes, right?
Yeah, these all came in like 10 minutes before we started on the stream, so I haven't really had a chance to look through everything. So I'm hopeful that it's all great. But these are the first production copies that came in today of Deadlands, the box set, and Horror Ed Headstone Hill. And if we have a look in this one, I'll open the Headstone Hill box because right on the top of it is it's hard to make that.
Let's see. Can we get you full screen?
Yes, we can. I got it. Thanks. Oh, never mind.
So Headstone Hill comes with a sheet of pawns, and this is the first time we've seen the production pawns. So that is very exciting. And of course, Blood Drive will have 4 sheets of pawns with it. So 3. So that's how they'll look. Yeah.
Oh no.
It's okay. It's fine. Also in Headstone Hill, then we have the Uinta County map. And map of Headstone Hill on the back. One of the things I'm excited to see is Headstone Hill comes with a whole set of handouts. So these are all printed on different paper stock. So we got paper clippings, newspaper clippings. We got, well, I'm not going to spoil too much because some of these things you don't find until later in the adventure. So there's a whole set of handouts in there too.
So Matt Cutter wanted to do an old style TSR kind of box set, right, with all these cool handouts and props and things. And I said, well, I think that's a little ambitious for us, especially with all we've got to do. And Simon took a look at it and he said, oh, no, I'm going to make that happen. And the two of them just ran away with it. And I think it's one of the coolest things we've ever made. I think you're going to be really happy when you pop that box open.
I'm happy. And then the main book itself.
I just love how Simon a few words, but when he starts throwing stuff up on the camera, the chat goes wild. So
Right. The panic over ponds.
Okay, so yeah, so that is looking nice. Very happy with that.
It's beautiful.
Good job.
yeah,
That's great.
The color is fantastic. Yeah, we only saw the pre the draft version, and wow, they look great even on the webcam.
Yeah, we have production copies of the Crater Lake Chronicles and the Companion. So they've come out really nicely.
There's the big boy.
Oh, there's another box.
Ooh,
And it's another big one.
they're so shiny.
I love that. It's a very satisfying thud.
It is
Right.
in here. This is a lot of stuff. So we open it up. We have the map of the Weird West, which I dropped. Adventure cards and infernal devices. A set of power cards. It's very, very reflective. They're all shrink wrap, so they're very shiny. The Harrow cards. The deck of archetypes. Set of archetypes. We have bennies and dice.
And ammo counters.
Ammo counters. This is the first time I've seen these actually produced. So
Power points and ammo counters.
Oh, that's pretty.
just a little dial. It lets you keep track of your ammo.
Or power points.
Or power points. And then
Or
the book
kills.
itself.
Look at that. Beautiful cover by Aaron Riley. Graphic design by Carl Kiesler.
Swanky end papers. That came out really well. And then at the bottom of the box is the GM screen. Which I'll just open. And we have the short, brief adventure. What's it called, Shane?
I believe that's Sundown at Suntan or something like that.
The Showdown at Sundown. And then
By Rob Weiland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
very pretty.
So pretty.
So that is a full box.
Yeah, it is.
Any chance on any of the pawns you showed us to see a view or see how thick they are? The
Yeah.
Christian Serrano wins the night with the it's a pandemic. So yes,
No.
pandemic
That's
2020.
good, Christian. I like that.
Okay.
A pandemic of ponds.
So many ponds. I love ponds.
Oh, and he's got a good question too while you're looking it up for maybe Shane or Simon. Any lessons learned from doing the Suede Essentials box? Improvements brought to this one?
Can you show? So
Look how
that's pretty
thick
thick.
those are too. Yeah. Those stand really nicely.
I'm trying to find my camera. Yeah, so the pawn sheet comes with these card bases that you can slot in. And then we also have like plastic bases that you can get that will a little bit more secure and less prone to fall over like these just did. But yeah, I'm really pleased. These came out super well. They are.
Simon, were there? Someone asked, were there any lessons that we learned between the Suede Essentials box set and this?
Well,
Production one?
we're learning all the time with the box sets. We are adding new stuff to it. We have this strange little insert in there, which means that you should be able to fit a copy of Suede in the box too. So you should be able to keep everything together. I think the ammo counters should be slightly more snug because we tightened those up a bit. So hopefully everything is like incremental improvement as we go along.
Somebody said it's too bad they don't use game screens because it's amazing. You could just put that up as art in your house. Just put it on a shelf. It's gorgeous. You can still use all that stuff in different places. It doesn't all have to sit in the box forever. So
That's true.
Or you can swing the sides around and put it in front. If you still want it in front of you, you can use it as a dice backstop. So you can just have the art towards your players. It's gorgeous. Oh, and
hide
Jody
your
says
snacks.
We also have production copies of the Deadlands bag.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that came out really well.
Oh,
no.
We need to get better not dropping this stuff. But yeah, that came out super well. And
Jody mentions that the plastic bases are available in the Pledge Manager, which also all of this stuff. If people didn't go in on the last Deadlands Kickstarter, they can add on in their Pledge Manager for this Kickstarter for Blood Drive almost all of this stuff, right? As add-ons.
Yeah, I think all of this stuff. The only thing that might be a limited quantity is we have through Norse Foundry dice boxes, like dice trays, which are beautiful, but that might be a limited quantity. So
there's metal dice from Norse Foundry too, right? I don't think we have samples of those.
We don't have a sample of those yet. No,
those might be unavailable as well.
Yeah, and then I think we have these little ghost rock beads that we just received too. I can't really show these too well, I guess. But there we go. So these are like little ghost rock chunks.
Oh, ghost rock.
You just need to get you a little side camera so you can just present to the side.
So pro. Yeah. And then the map packs as well. I don't have one of those here. We do have finished ones of those, but these are the maps that we have. So there's two maps, double-sided, they're laminated, so you can kind of draw on them if you want to. But they also have a 1-inch grid on them, so you can use them with the pawns.
And you also get them in PDF and JPEG, so you can use them in VTT as well. Virtual tabletop.
Yeah. Those maps are the ones that came with the original Deadlands Kickstarter. There's 2 new maps that size that are going to be with the Blood Drive Kickstarter. So yeah, keep adding the maps for build up a whole western town.
I screwed up and didn't realize that the maps were an add-on for the original Kickstarter. And so I rectified that with a new Kickstarter. So if you were like me and didn't realize that you had a button and were a little stupid about that, you can still get those 2 original maps at the discount. So get on that because those are great. And there's 4 total maps now. There's 2 from the original and there's 2 new ones on Blood Drive.
2 new ones, and they're double-sided. So if you buy 2 copies of each one, then you can actually build an enormous town. So they're pretty cool.
Which everyone should do, right?
Absolutely, and probably 6.
And then the DMD asks, do you guys know when the pledge, the previous one is the Deadlands Kickstarter is going to lock?
January 4th, says Jody. She was on it.
Yeah.
Hey,
Jody.
So, okay. So close.
And there's links in the chat. So if you want the chat to that Pledge Manager, she's got that for you.
Nice.
Alrighty.
So you got about a month, folks. And I got to tell you, from what we ordered to what we've seen purchased since, I suspect we're going to be out pretty soon after they arrive. I don't know how long, could be a couple of months, but Suede is, we're heading into a 3rd printing of it soon. So, this stuff goes quick.
I'm just seeing if there's any last minute questions while we're waiting for that. Any other famous, exciting moments that you want to share from the cattle drive that you didn't before? Any moments that were super fun?
I would just sum it up. If you're healthy enough to do it and you get a chance to do it, there's lots of different kinds. So the ones that I'm looking at doing next are in Montana, and there's everything from it's a vacation and you can go riding when you want to it's a working dude ranch and you go out and do everything that they do, right? So you can really get any experience you want. But Simon and I did it because we make a Western game and we wanted to know a little bit more about what we were talking about. And I don't know that we really accomplished much of that other than the writing itself. I think Chris probably got a more hands-on
or feet on. The feet were certainly on something, yes.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, it sure makes you appreciate, the rancher's life. And, we go out and we have a nice juicy steak or a burger and it's all great. And you don't necessarily think about, not only just, the animal's life that was given for you to eat that, but all the work and all the people that go into, keeping them healthy, keeping them, especially on an open ranch like that, where they can run free and, have a pretty good life before that happens. It's a good reminder. It really makes you appreciate just how fortunate we all are out here.
And cows and horses can die really easily if they're not taken care of. So everything they do, I don't know if anybody watches like all those vet programs and things, but you can kind of see how easy it is for cattle to die very quickly.
Yeah. What about you, Simon? Any closing notes?
Well, I don't have a takeaway as profound as that, but I can say that I didn't expect to enjoy it. I was kind of dreading going. The thought of being near horses was a little disturbing, and having done it, I thought it was fantastic, and I enjoyed every minute of it in retrospect. And so, yeah, at the time, I would have maybe answered differently, but looking back, it was a brilliant experience, and I'm really glad I went.
Nice. We have a couple questions here. Somebody asked, any favorite Deadlands stories from over the years you'd care to share, Shane?
I do. I feel like we should probably save that for another broadcast, since I think we're running a bit long here. They might take some time, but I've got some good ones.
Gotcha. So maybe we'll just have a Wild West night where we just can do all that and answer all those questions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anything shorter we can answer?
Somebody asked, did you watch a lot of cowboy movies growing up?
Sorry, I got both of you at once. Yeah.
Somebody asked if you watched a lot of cowboy movies growing up, and is that the reason you decided to make a Wild West kind of genre?
Yes. I was really more of a John Wayne fan. Every Sunday, my dad and I would typically watch John Wayne movies, and that was, it was a special time for me as a kid, and I really loved it, and that stuck with me. Deadlands is really more Clint Eastwood, but I didn't really discover spaghetti westerns until I was in late college, thanks to John Hopler, who wrote some of our earlier materials. And it's certainly, I like that style. I like high style in movies and cinema and stuff that we do. The John Wayne is a little bit more traditional, but John Wayne's still my favorite Western cowboy. Real quick, I've watched every Western I can find these days, and some that are often overlooked by people. If you get a chance to watch some of the Bud Boddicker, Randolph Scott Westerns, like Ride Lonely or The Tall T.
I was going to say that. My mum was a huge Randolph Scott fan, apparently. I found out later. And I hadn't really watched any of those. And then Shane pointed me at this collection, and they are amazing. Really, really good movies.
They are. And surprisingly dark for the 50s.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, some good Deadlands fodder there for sure.
Gotcha. Any stories you would recommend? Any Western style stories, maybe?
You mean books?
Yep.
Hours.
Get to play through them.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Riders of the Purple Sage or Riders of the Purple Rage, which is the Joe Lansdale version. Razored saddles. The Western horror stuff's pretty good. The Joe Lansdale does, especially.
It's Bone Tomahawk, which I think is perfect for Deadlands.
Okay, so Bone Tomahawk, right? Great movie. If you like horror movies that can handle mature content, it's a great movie, right? But it's going to be like, it's pretty good. I see what he's talking about. Oh my God, what just happened?
Yeah,
it's that kind of movie.
That is true. One question we missed: what was the purpose of your cattle drive? So the one that we did was separate the boys from the girls, vaccinations, branding, ear tag, the early life stuff. What was the purpose of your guys' cattle drive?
Make money off a bunch of tourists. I think really, the people the Chessers who run it would say, to show people what life on a ranch is like and give you some taste of that experience. We didn't have to do the hard stuff like you did. We rode and we pushed cows around and we had incredible food and we met great people from all over the country and we roughed it for 5 days, barely roughed it. So I think it was really just more of an experiential thing for us.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. We'll do another Wild West night for stories with Peg at some point. We'll let you know when we schedule that.
Yeah, or just a Savage Worlds Crazy Stories night, right?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
For sure.
Right, and you can use all of our horrific and bloody stories in your own blood drive game. It's on Kickstarter now, so go and back that. You can pick up packs if you forgot, like me, to get the 1 and 2. And let's see, one more month for the regular Deadlands Kickstarter. The backer kit will be open. And yeah, everything is funded. Everything is great. We're probably going to get John Goff here in the next couple days, maybe a week, to just reminisce about writing it originally. And so there'll be more Deadlands coming your way, guys.
Yeah, we will definitely do more of this. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you for the questions and commentary. There was a lot of funny stuff I saw in chat, so I'm sorry we didn't get to it. We had a very limited amount of time, but we'll definitely do more of these. I'll probably create a post in the Savage Worlds official Facebook group just for your suggestions and commentary and anything you want to throw at us. We will be happy to oblige.
Thanks, partners.
Happy trails.
Bye, guys.
Bye.